Hello, hello, and welcome to ohmTown Daily, the new show powered by ohmTown.com. Today is a time machine episode for April 4th, 2024. I am Mayor Watt. The sentient AI is on location. That's ohmTown.com over there. If you're listening to this via the podcast, we stream live over on ohmTown or twitch.tv/ohmTown. And then it gets ported over to YouTube/ohmTown, youtube.com/ohmTown. There's a Patreon, there's a Discord, all of the links. I don't put in the show notes a lot of stuff, but just the show notes, the URLs. And here's the rundown for today. Birthing a price hike, bird flu in Texas, the CO2 Pareto principle. TSA says sneaking people exists. Beer Keg 11. It's MC Algay. Haunted choppers. The return to net neutrality. Gas station hires canine units. Wow. And the power of a motion sensor. That and more on ohmTown Daily News Show. Oh. What just happened? That's okay. All right, sorry about that. Our production values are at an all-time high. Let's get into today's show. 1 second here. Dun, dun. Let me make sure that we've gone live. We have gone live. Although the title is wrong, but that's okay. All right, now we're good. Let's get into today's first article. This first article is over on the Wanted channel. Spotify's second price hike in 9 months will target audiobook listeners. This is definitely an unwanted. Spotify premium subscriptions include up to 15 hours of audiobook listening, which for some books, that's half the book. But starting April, the company will charge an extra $1 to $2 per month for the feature, Bloomberg reported, citing anonymous, quote, people familiar with the matter, end quote. The reported price hike would be the second that Spotify customers have faced in 9 months. Hence the title of this article, Birthing a Price Hike. That's my show note title, not the actual article's title. Currently, Spotify charges nothing for its free plan with ads, $5.99 for students, $10.99 for its premium plan, and $15 for its Duo for 2 users, and $17 for its family with up to 6 users. The article is actually over at arstechnica.com. Again, this is from the time frame between 8 p.m. on April 3rd and 8 p.m. on April 4th. This is a time machine episode, so I got to get through this really quick, otherwise the time machine overheats and I get stuck in that date. So that would be weird, because I might bump into myself here in the office. Anyway, Sharon Harding is the author over at Ars Technica that put this article together. It says Bloomberg report claims price hike coming to Australia, Pakistan, and the UK first. So you early adopters, you. Congratulations. Yeah, I've actually we've all run across this kind of stuff before. I've had things that I've been subscribed to going up $5 a year. I've had stuff go up $5 in twice in 1 year. Pretty shocking, and it's all because there's a lot of money in the system, and there's apparently a lot of elasticity, so people will keep on paying until Spotify feels the pinch, and then they'll back off, and you won't know about it. They'll extend the time frame between price hikes, but they'll keep on raising the price until they appease their investors. That's really what it's all about. I call it the economics of greed, because you sons of bitches cannot have money saved up in the bank. That's not how it works, folks. See, it goes from employer to employee to bank account straight immediately to goods and services until your account is drained entirely, or you sacrifice, life. Bloomberg didn't specify whether Spotify would default current subscribers to the plan, to whatever it is this new plan, higher price plan is, or if they'll stay in the regular plan. But I think that they're going to raise the rates. It also doesn't mention if the basic plan would have additional drawbacks, probably more advertising. The upcoming price increase would be Spotify's second, since it introduced premium pricing in 2011, so it's only 20 years, but it's twice in 1 year. In July, Spotify bumped that pricing from $9.99 to $10.99, and then Spotify announced followed price hikes from rivals like Amazon Music and Tidal. So, see, not necessarily the first movers, but it is what it is. And as I said, it says Spotify tries to be profitable. Spotify may deem these changes necessary to buoy audiobook venture or revenue. The company is heavily invested in the sector and spent $123 million to acquire Findaway in July 2022. Spotify said it was the second biggest audiobook brand after Audible, citing Bookstat data published in the New York Times. But as it stands, Spotify only generates revenue from audiobooks if users go beyond the 15 hours per month. Not sure how that works, but okay. I mean, you get it for X amount, and then you have to pay more to get these books, I suppose. Or there's ads in the books, which would really suck. That's why I don't mind paying for Audible. Okay, let's keep going, though. This next article is over in ohmTown Daily. It's aggregated from Newsweek, though. Price hike for eggs incoming. The article's title is actually "Egg Prices Could Rise After Massive Texas Plant Shuts Down." We'll actually get to this. It's quite fascinating. I've been talking about it for 3 years streaming now. But there's very few companies that provide the bulk of products and services. And so when something happens, for instance, baby food formula, if one company shuts down one manufacturing plant, 25% of the market collapses and the prices shoot through the roof. People panic buy, they pull everything off the shelves if they need it or not, and some scumbags go out and buy it and then resell it on the aftermarket, because scumbags do what scumbags do. But this article here is talking about, because there is a huge bird flu issue right now, and if everything is consolidated and we only rely on a certain manufacturer in a certain location, and they get hit by this bird flu, all hell breaks loose. So naturally, all hell is breaking loose. Let me throw these articles into the chat real quick. Sorry, I didn't do that. I need to do that more often because it can be my timestamp for when I break up the articles into smaller sections. Well, this article is over at newsweek.com. Omar Mohammed is the author of this. The video, actually, it says everything to know about the egg shortage as prices rise. This has happened before. During the pandemic, prices rose because of various culls. But it says on Tuesday, Cal-Maine announced that the plant tested positive for avian flu HPAI, which forced the halting of operations at its facility in Palmer County, Texas, and led to the depopulation. It's basically a culling of 1.6 million laying hens and nearly 340,000 pullets. This amounts to 3.6% of the company's flock as of March 2nd. So It says if we have 300 million laying hens in the United States and we lose, a little less than 1% of them, that's going to affect at some level supply and demand. That was a huge operation that got hit with the virus, and just depopulating that many birds is going to take resources, time, and energy to address. So yeah, prices are going to go up, and it's rockets and feathers, right? They shoot up fast and then they descend slow, and so you won't see something shoot up $1 and then it suddenly drop $1. No, it's going to shoot up $1 and then stay there if it ever does decline. And what we need is more competition to drive the prices down. That's the only way you're going to get it. But really what happens is and this happens with all kinds of things. A company will spin up, it'll hit a certain critical mass before, it's going to fly under the radar for a considerable amount of time. But if it keeps on growing and growing, so at some point, the major manufacturer is going to catch wind of it and then buy it. Because you can't get big without investors, or you are so well funded, you don't really give a shit about investors anyway. And so you own 50%, 51% of the company no matter what. And they have to do whatever you want to do, regardless of how activist they are in an effort to do a hostile takeover. They still can't. So with that small of a cut in the number of chickens, I would not expect much in the way of higher prices. A quick back of the envelope estimates about 2 cents per dozen or so. So we might not even notice it, says this person from it's David P. Anderson, a professor and livestock economist at Texas A&M University, told Newsweek in an emailed response. Yeah, I doubt that. I think it'll probably be more significant because people panic and buy, and then it's wasted, but there's not enough. Basically, the demand increases. So we'll see. It says the wholesale average egg prices last week were $2.48 per dozen compared to $3.47 last year at this time. That was trending more towards the pandemic. Aro Ibarburu, associate scientist and business analyst at the Egg Industry Center at Iowa State University, lamented after another facility had been hit by HPAI. This is always happening, but it's mainly because supply and demand is bound by the suppliers, obviously. And if we have too few suppliers, like you don't go to your local farm to get eggs, right? You go to the market. Most people go to the market. But if you were to buy from your local producer, they are taking their prices from the market as well. But the farmer's market might be a little less sociopathic, although it really depends. Anyway, promote your local farmers. That's where you need to go and get your various sundries. If they make bacon, get it locally. If they make butter, get it locally. If they make eggs, get it locally. Lettuce, corn, all kinds of stuff can be obtained from your local producer, and that kind of creates at least some semblance of competition between local producers and these mega farms. But most people will still go to the market. Anyway, let's keep going. The next article is over in the Mobile channel. Only 57 producers. Pardon me one second. Only 57 producers are responsible for 80% of all fossil fuel and cement CO2 emissions since 2016, says a report. This is why I called it the CO2 Pareto principle. So, just 57 companies and nation states were responsible for generating 80% of the world's CO2 emissions from fossil fuels and cement over the last 7 years, according to a new report released by the think tank Influence Map. This finding suggests that the net zero target set by the Paris Climate Accord in 2015 are yet to make a significant impact on fossil fuel production. Because it has no teeth. What are you going to do? Go after a nation state, right? That's not how it works. The article is over in phys.org. Matthew Carl Ives, Belinda Wade, and Safira Recker from The Conversation put the article together. They're external to phys.org, but they produce a lot of stuff that gets published at phys.org. 1 second, sorry. So the report uses the Carbon Majors database established in 2013 by Richard Head of the Climate Accountability Institute to provide fossil fuel production data from 122 of the world's largest oil, gas, coal, and cement producers. The Influence Map report tells a sobering but informative story of the state of production in these high-emitting industries. Cement and fossil fuel production has reached unprecedented levels, with most of the emission growth traceable to a relatively small number of large companies. They talk about transparency being crucial, but that's actually not true. What's crucial to producing large amounts of wealth is obscurity, obfuscation, hiding in the shadows, darkness, because that's where the abuse happens. And that's where the sociopaths lie. That's why I don't edit anything. What I say and what I do here is entirely transparent. So unfortunately, for more transparency will be available for investor-owned companies. In 2023, a nonprofit that aims to standardize global accounting, the International Financial Reporting Standards Foundation, released new climate-related disclosure standards. These should provide investors, politicians, and the public with access to more transparent and consistent data, making it much easier for them to accurately judge companies' climate performance or lack thereof. It'll be interesting to read the climate report of the 57 companies identified by Influence Map in the coming years. I might actually take that on and talk about them here in the show, because I have an entire show that I want to kick off called Greenogram, which focuses on these types of matters. Living a more green life. Trying to get away from plastic and recycling more and various other awareness type of discussions. So it'll be interesting to talk about the Influence Map data. Yeah, it'll be interesting. Okay, so follow the link through the show notes and you will come across this article. Okay, let's keep going. The next article is cavalier in its title. The TSA says people sneaking past security is a larger problem than we realized, which it's kind of like the UFO disclosures. Like, why in the world would they disclose that they're not in charge of the air around them or the sea that they're floating on? Yet that's exactly what the military said. And then people sit there and go, oh, it's nothing, it's natural, it's this, that, or the other. Why would the government sit there and say, hey? And then what I've heard in response, and I had already thought of this, but I mean, I might as well just say, people have said to me that it's so that they can get bigger budgets. And I'm like, really? Telling your potential threats that you don't know what the hell's going on around you is going to lead to a bigger budget? Yeah, probably, because it's going to lead to bigger threats. So I don't quite get their argument. You want a military that sits there and says we are in charge of the land, air, and sea. and not sit there and go, we don't know what the hell's going on. And that's kind of what the TSA just said. We don't know. It's a larger problem than we realize. It's chilling. And that means that what everybody has been saying for years and years, that it's, security theater, is more true than I even allowed it to be. Hundreds of people have breached airport security since March 2023, the TSA revealed in an interview with the Washington Post. It's a massive uptick over 2022, and the agency told the Washington Post it wants to crack down. Most incidents, like travelers re-entering through one-way exits, didn't have any evil intent. Yeah, but if you don't know it's happening, then the people with evil intent will take advantage of it. The article's actually over at businessinsider.com, and Jeff Weiss is the author, and here's Brenda, or actually, I don't know who this is. I think the name on the badge is McMulty. I'm getting ready to give me my body cavity check on my next flight. I can just see it coming. Most incidents apparently are people just kind of turning around instead of continuing down the one-way path. It's a larger problem than we realize, Transportation Security Administration spokesperson R. Carter Langston told the Washington Post in a new interview, and the stats mark a massive uptick. There were 29 airport security breaches in 2019, 72 in 2022, and 300 since March of 23. So yeah, in February, a passenger walked through an unstaffed body scanner. In a separate incident that same month, another flyer bypassed ID checks and flew to Los Angeles without a ticket. She was detained by FBI upon her arrival, but not charged, according to the Post. Well, I guess she didn't do anything. This actually is spawned out of the fact that there was a guy who took a picture of somebody's QR code, a girl, an underage girl flying solo, and went through the ticketing agent, boarded the flight, and got caught there. But the ticketing agent just scanned the QR code, didn't look at any data, and let some guy through using somebody's shoulder surfed QR code. And that's what you need to be aware of. Don't look at any of your vital information with anybody directly behind you or next to you without observing what they are. So just the other day, I was at a location where there were lockers, and I noticed someone looking at somebody else putting their code into the locker because it was built-in locks. And so I walked over to them and blocked the view and told the person, hey, somebody's watching you put your code in. And when you walk away, there's a really good chance that your bag's going to disappear. And so they changed their code after I blocked. So, and in order to improve passenger experience, the TSA said that in March it would test self-checkout style security screenings at Harry Reid International Airport in Las Vegas, but only for TSA pre-check passengers. So you'll have to get checked before you can self-check. So hopefully people, the check is good. Okay, let's keep going though. The next article, number 5 in our rundown today, is in the Order of the Grape channel. It's over at ohmtown.com, and it's what it goes by is Of the Grape, because you can be a member of the Grape or Order of the Grape or whatever you want to call yourself, Of the Grape, and which is basically a channel that talks about wine. But this is related to beer, which means that it really should be in another channel. One second. I had to sneeze. Sorry about that. 8 charged in massive East Coast beer heist. So I tied this one Beer Keg 11. The indictment, which was unsealed by federal prosecutors in Manhattan, alleges that the accused targeted train yards and warehouses across the Northeast to steal hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of beer, the majority of which was Corona and Modelo, over the course of 2 years. Prosecutors allege that 27-year-old co-defendant Jose Cesari was the ringleader of the operation. According to the indictment, Cesari roped others into the crime ring, which operated from July 2022 to March 2024 by posting on Instagram. Wow. The article is over at vinepair.com, which is most of the time about wine and other drinks. So I'm not surprised that this got aggregated into of the grape. But anyway, Olivia White is the author. Sarah Pinsino is the artist for this illustration on the thumbnail for this article. It's pretty neat. So they always have cool art. So let's see. The person Cesari posted on Instagram to declare his need for workers who want to make money, accompanied by a money bag and railroad track emoji. In a separate post, Cesari guaranteed that by using the beer train method, anyone involved in the operation would make $100,000 in a month. Fascinating. Cesari is charged with 7 felonies, including conspiracy to steal from interstate or foreign shipments by carrier, theft from interstate or foreign shipments, and using a firearm during a crime of violence. His co-defendants each face the same conspiracy to steal charge, and 6 of them also face 1 count of theft from interstate or foreign shipment. So I guess a Beer Keg 11 got busted all at once. For years, the beer theft enterprise has operated brazenly, allegedly breaking into rail yards and beverage distribution facilities throughout the Northeast and filling U-Haul box trucks to the brim with cases of beer. Now, so here's what's really fascinating about this. None of this would have happened if not for the fact that instead of staffing properly and securing the supply chain, it's compromised from end to end, trusting that people aren't going to do this. Yet we have a culture that doesn't necessarily engage in that level of, ethics and moral. Now, the reason why people do this is because they lack any other opportunity. So they think that this is a solution, and they don't have the coping skills to deal with it any other way or opportunity to overcome it. Either through skill or whatever else, this is where they think that they need to go. Now, I'm not saying it's right, not by any stretch of the imagination. But what I am saying is the reason why people turn to theft is myriad reasons, but primarily as a coping mechanism for not being able to do anything else because there isn't enough opportunity. And they don't necessarily want to do, physical labor or anything else that they might currently be qualified for. And they don't want to go back to school either because it's too expensive. Anyway, it's an interesting article, so go over and read this article at vinepair.com. Let me throw it. I guess I did not throw this into the chat until I was done with the article itself. If you see me look down, it's because I'm copying and pasting a URL. Let's go to the next article. This next article is over in Smash or Trash. A professor worried no one would read an algae or whatever. I call it algae study. So she had it put to music. The article is over at NPR. Nita Ulaby is the author of this. It's a short read, 2 minutes. The paper, co-authored with 3 other professors, had to do with the impact of algae blooms and depletion of coral reefs on the region's tourism industry. The work was glum, says Heather O'Leary. It involved tracking visitors' reactions to the environment on social media. But she knew that people would barely read it. So, turn it to music. Part of the data for months was just reading tweets. Dead fish, dead fish, dead fish, she recalls. We were really thinking about every day about the Gulf of Mexico and the waters that surround us, especially at St. Pete as a peninsula, about those risks, about the risks to the coastal economy. So, attending concerts at USF's School of Music inspired and gladdened her, so she reached out to the director of the bands, Matthew McCutcheon, and said, hey, let's turn this into music. And so that's what they did. In this case, she says the patterns revealed the economic impact of pollution on coastal Florida communities and wanted people to actually read it. So it's a bigger thing, apparently. The group, which calls itself Crescendo, communicating research expansively through sonification and community-engaged neuroaesthetic data literacy opportunities, wants to spread awareness about the algae blooms, data literacy, and democratizing data, or science, I should say. Neat. You know how you democratize science? You don't make research articles $800 to purchase by the public. That's freaking nuts. So let me throw that into the article, into the VOD. There you go. And it'll be in the show notes. Let's keep going. Choo-choo. My time machine is going to fail here in about 30 minutes or so, probably less. Stock Marketeers is where the next article is. Walmart recalls some mini choppers after some started chopping on their own. Walmart's recalling more than 50,000 Mainstays electric mini choppers because of multiple reports of cuts from the blade, with some requiring stitches. The article is over at MarketWatch, and it's written by Tommy Kilgore. I'm not sure how they pronounce their first name, but the choppers were made in China and were sold exclusively by Walmart from August 2022 to October 2023. Seems like a short, causing it to just spin up, which means that the electronics aren't sealed properly. Walmart has received 5 reports of lacerations, 2 of which required medical attention, including stitches. Injuries occurred during assembly of the product or during cleaning handling of the product. Choppers, which were made in China, were sold for $10 to $15 between August 2022 and October 2023. Stop using them, bring them back to Walmart for a refund. These articles always have additional information, primarily about the stock market related matters. And at the bottom of most articles, this is just like a journalistic thing. You typically get kind of fluff to pad out whatever might be getting discussed, and it's tertiary to the actual nuts and bolts. But it might spur you into clicking at something additional. So let's keep going though. This next article is over in the Warcrafters channel, and it says FCC will vote on bringing back net neutrality regulations on April 25th. This is a spectacular change in the direction of net neutrality discussion. I just got done 2 weeks ago talking to a group about the death of net neutrality because people didn't get engaged, not enough people to make a difference. And that, I don't know what you want to call them. Look, my bias is pretty substantial when it relates to what happened with the FCC, but an activist director basically killed net neutrality because they were, in all regards, I would say, motivated by industry, not by the public, to see it their way. But it was even something that was being discussed while there was discussion about the fact that competitors were hobbling other competitors' network traffic if they were part of an ISP that had a solution that a competitor was providing at a superior value. For instance, Netflix complained that Comcast was hobbling Netflix customers by lowering the speed at which packets would traverse the network. So you couldn't get 4K because you wouldn't get enough bandwidth to get 4K just because of the way everything was shaped. And I lived through this because I spun up a service from a 2-bedroom apartment that was, if it wasn't for the fact that I actually brought it to a company, it would have gone national by itself. And damn, I should have done exactly that. But anyway, and I had to deal with the fact that the people that were providing the last mile of service were direct competitors. Every time they installed my customers' required digital switch, they would lose a customer because I would be the one that was making the money. They would still make money, but it wasn't the same rate. So it was just astonishing. And so it went from being like 24 hours to 8 weeks before a customer would transition into my service. And it was just freaking shocking. And then eventually the business owner shuttered the entire project because they didn't want to be involved with a mega company. It was wild. Anyway, so net neutrality was being discussed at this time, and net neutrality died. So back in 2017, we explained why net neutrality matters. This is 7 years ago, but it was even longer when all of this came to pass. Much longer, all of this started being discussed. And why we think PC gamers should support it, and basic facts remain the same today. Simply put, net neutrality requires that all data is treated equally and forbids ISPs from throttling speeds or blocking access to content based on the nature of the content being delivered. Typically, it's because of deep packet inspection, so everybody is looking into the content, the actual material within the packets. Andy Chalk over at PCGamer.com put this article together, and it says FCC will vote on bringing back net neutrality regulations on April 25th. The true nature of the internet is to survive a disastrous event. It's supposed to self-heal. It's supposed to wrap around slow. It's supposed to be super efficient and not based on a network's perspective of efficiency, right? So every packet really should be treated as if it is just an empty envelope stuck in a mailbox, but that's not what businesses are doing. It wasn't it was enshrined into U.S. law by the Obama administration in 2015 under the Open Internet Order, but then dismantled just a couple years later by the Trump administration. Hold on one second. I'm sorry for the dead air. I just want to make sure of something. It's funny. One second. Yeah, see, this article is talking about it from 2017 and whatnot, but the net neutrality existed all the way back in 2003. The term was coined by Columbia University media law professor Tim Wu. This is all over at Wikipedia. You can find this all out. So the article here has a particular tilt on it as if it is modern, and it's not. They're talking about back in 2017, we explained why net neutrality matters and why we think PC gamers should support it. This again is PCGamer.com talking. And the basic facts remain the same today. Simply put, net neutrality requires that all data is treated equally. So hobbling it wasn't a popular move. The vote to dismantle regulations broke along party lines. 3 Republicans voted in favor, 2 Republicans against, and there was significant opposition from the public and organizations like the ACLU, EFF, and even Google. But all of this was dismantled because of one FCC chairperson who was unabashedly for whatever the industry told him to be for. But since then, you could see a culture shift take place at the FCC. It says that the FCC, however, said adopting the proposal will enable it to provide oversight of broadband outages, increase broadband network security and consumer protections, bring back a widely accepted national standard in the wake of deregulation. Some individual U.S. states, including California, New Jersey, Oregon, adopted their own net neutrality regulations and prevent internet providers from blocking, slowing down, or creating pay-to-play internet fast lanes. But again, the spirit of the internet and its protocols is to facilitate a rapid heal from any disastrous event, namely nuclear war, and promote education. It was an academic pursuit initially, connecting research institutions primarily. This is before the internet little I became the internet big I and was opened up to the general public and commercial enterprise. I bought one of my first domains for my first company way back when it was something like $250 a year for a domain, and you had to file pieces of paper. Yeah, that was always interesting. And even at that, I was late in the game because my first taste of the internet was when I was 10 years old, and on basically an old military base in California. Yeah. So I've been around for a while, and I've watched this, and it's just hilarious that I was talking about this just 2 weeks ago, telling people that this is pretty much dead and never coming back, because it's very difficult to claw back stronger regulation unless something catastrophic happens and a great number of people are harmed. And people don't see the internet as being harmful at its core. Only the sociological mechanisms are harmful. That's going to be the truth if you talk to anybody about it. Ask them what a protocol is, and they have no idea the average person has no idea what a internet protocol is. Anyway, let's keep on going. Let me make sure that I put this in here. Yeah. Okay, let's keep going. The next article is over in the Mobile Channel. Gas station hires K9 units for 3 North Carolina locations, and here's why. Apparently, it's a hotbed of crime and people aren't acting normal. The fact that we've gotten to this point is a little concerning, like the world has gone insane, says Amanda Williams, who told Nexstar's WGHP. According to Sheet's supervisor, Bill Macy, the locations in Greensboro will be the first in the state to have K9 units provided by Virginia-based companies. So Justin Lindy over at The Hill put this article together, and I find it really disconcerting. I'm not quite sure what is expected to happen here. If somebody does something, I guess they hire dogs so that they go and bark at people. That doesn't really make me feel good. They said one person named Michael Rogers said it's good. Folks don't know how to act in public. If they can't follow the rules, let them get bit. What? Oh my God. The safety of our customers and employees at Sheetz is a top priority. We continually assess which stores need additional support and have implemented supplemental security measures, including K9 units at several Greensboro store locations as an additional safety measure. Quote, Henry Boyd, I guess that depends on the situation. I don't know what you would need for the K9. What you would need the K9 for, unless you're going for drugs or something like that. Other than that, it's just another policeman. But yeah, what's pretty typical is when an event happens at a retail establishment, they hire either police, off hours, or aftermarket security, or second market security. I don't know what you want. Security. Just call it security. And they sit there until a cooling off period because for some reason, I guess, the data suggests that if a crime takes place in a location, another one is going to happen shortly within a period of time if you don't put security in place. And I suppose that's real because if thieves think that you can just come on in and take whatever you want off the shelves. Apparently, what happened was at a Greensboro location, a police officer was fatally shot while confronting a suspect in a larceny. The suspects were allegedly attempting to steal beer when Sergeant Dale Nix, who was off duty, confronted them in December. One of the suspects opened fire on Nix as he approached their vehicle at the Sheetz location, according to police. Pardon me. And 3 people have been charged in the incident, so I guess we'll see what happens with them. I don't know if it's already been... yeah. Wow, wild. Shooting somebody over beer. Okay, let's do our last article. For the Time Machine episode, at least. This article is over in ohmTown Daily. Thieves stole $30 million from a cash vault after breaking in through the roof in one of LA's biggest ever heists. This is the power of a motion sensor. That's what I gave this article as a title. Thieves stole up to $30 million from a money storage facility in Los Angeles on Easter Sunday. Wow, talk about nest egg. This is one of the biggest cash heists in LA history. Sources told the LA Times that the thieves may have accessed the vault by breaking through the roof. So I say the power of a motion sensor, because how did they spend enough time to steal that much money if a motion sensor should have gone off inside this vault? Joshua Zitzer over at businessinsider.com put the article together, so you're going to want to go over there and read more about this. But I'm really curious if the article states if there was any security in this thing. Yeah, they said the burglary occurred at an unnamed facility in Sylmar, according to the Los Angeles Times, which was the first to report on the incident. Thieves managed to breach both the building and the safe where the money was kept. Though the specifics of how the break-in occurred are uncertain, sources familiar with the investigation told the Times that the thieves accessed the vault by breaking through the roof. How they bypassed the security system remains a mystery. Apparently, the safe shows no signs from the outside of a break-in, and the business owner did not become aware of the robbery until the vault was opened at some time on Monday. They did not immediately respond to a request for comment by Business Insider. No additional information is related to the incident is being released. And most articles everywhere, there's additional situational awareness type of data at the end of the article. So I find it really interesting. Why wasn't there a motion sensor in there? I mean, that's all it takes is a motion sensor, right? Pretty amazing. Anyway, there's some more data over at this article, so definitely go over and check it out. Like always, even during a Time Machine episode, we get into the party bus and race down Main Street. I'm not going to refresh this because I can't tell what's on the other side of this refresh. But that's it for today, April 4th, 2024. Be sure to follow all of us over, follow us everywhere and all of this news. Go to ohmtown.com, become a citizen. Go over to twitch.tv/ohmtown and follow us there. Go over to YouTube and follow us there, youtube.com/ohmtown. There, we have a Discord that you can follow from the link at ohmtown. Should be here on twitch.tv. Currently, I only stream live on twitch.tv, but I'm considering doing it on YouTube, except there's no real discoverability as far as I can tell. But what you really need to do over on YouTube is to like and subscribe over there. Be sure to download the podcast as well. On Saturday and Sunday, we have a total of seven shows. Ohmtown Daily News Show is on both days, and then we have 3 additional on each day. Check them all out. The audio, not the audio, the automotive one, Four Wheel Tech, is pretty popular, as is Wanted, where we talk about gadgets, and we basically just follow us. You'll love the links. It's kind of like a video newsletter, and you can always just download the podcast and click on the links and go to all of these articles, because you don't know what you don't know, and well, we're all news and no noise other than the show. So even if you don't want to watch the show, go over and get the show notes, but like and subscribe so you get informed when a new stack of 10 articles gets dropped. Thanks. Hope you enjoyed it. See you in a little bit, because we have, once I shut down this, we're going to have Ohmtown Daily News Show tonight at 8 o'clock as well. Ciao. Now I'm off to make sure my vault is sealed up and install a motion sensor.